Hello there, everybody. This is Mark Chaos may call me, and welcome back to Higurashi when they cry Himatsubushi. Let's just begin. Shishibone City was, as far as provincial cities went, rather behind on the times. Okinomiya, recessed in the mountains, was even more remote. With little change between the seasons, all that was left was the tepid patches of time. It made for a rather drab town. There were no tourist attractions or local delicacies. Without even a strong regional industry, it was simply dull. Just looking at the monotonous and peaceful townscape, it was hard to catch a glimpse of the radical resistance of the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance. The atmosphere of boredom didn't hint of the Okinomiya Police Station being on the front lines of the damn conflict, nor of the numerous incidents I heard about at the prefectural headquarters. Good morning! Are you here to pay a fine? No, I have an appointment with Motodai-san from the Public Safety Division. Please tell him it's Akasaka. Ah! My apologies. Please wait a minute. The clerk, who thought I was here for a parking violation at first glance, after fumbling with the unfamiliar extension number, told the person on the line they had a visitor.
Welcome. Akasaka-san, was it? It must have been tired traveling out all this way. Sorry we have to do this here. I tried to reserve his reception room, you see. The counselor suddenly woke up and chased me out.
I would hesitate to call where we were a conference room. It was very small and cluttered. The cramped space was packed with lockers. I had the impression that was more of a change room that doubled as one for smoking. Listening to his crude chortles, I didn't get much of a feeling that Motodai, who was the head of the local public safety division, was much of an intellectual. But I knew that, in exchange, he had both experience and absolute confidence in his instincts. I apologize for interrupting you during such a busy time. I'm Akasaka from the Metropolitan Police Department. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Motodai from the Public Safety Division. Nice to meet ya. I was threatened by Sakai from the Pressure Gangbusters to be generous with my cooperation. Gangbusters? You mean the Prefectural Crime Prevention Division? You see, we're treating the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance as an extension to the local Yakuza. You have to be a newbie if you think they're just a residential protest group. They said at the prefectural office, too, that the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance was linked to the local mob. If I recall correctly, the adopted son of somebody influential was the lieutenant in that gang. It's the other way around. The complete opposite. The Yakuza put up the protest group as a front to justify their actions. Just think of it like that. Completely the other way around. He laughs a lot. Motodai was just about rolling with laughter. This was slightly different than the info given to me at the prefectural office, but somebody embedded locally would be more knowledgeable. While we were talking, occasionally some people who seemed to be detectives would come in and change. One of those individuals, noticing Motodai's gaffas, came up to us. Ah, it's Ōishi! I was wondering what you guys were talking about. Ooh, I like this song. Oh, Kuro-san! Kuro-chan? Kuro-chan? Okay, you can definitely call him a chan, but, what? Perfect timing! Why don't you join us? This here is Inspector Akasaka, who came all the way from the Tokyo Police Department. An inspector? I'm still a rookie. Oh, an inspector? I'm still a rookie. My name is Akasaka. Pleased to meet you. It must be nice to be so fresh-faced. Did they hire you this year? I couldn't help but think I was being ridiculed, so I only responded with a forced smile. I could tell that this new person was like Motodai, the type who had confidence in their instincts and experience. I really didn't like those type of people. Let me introduce you, Akasaka-san. This is Ōishi-kun from our investigative department. Regarding the S-file you were asking about, he's familiar with it. I'm gonna go ahead and turn down the music a little bit because, oh my god. It is loud with these headphones. Like, I just got soundproofing headphones, and holy shit, the music's loud. I'm sorry, guys. Oh boy, I'm a little bit overwhelmed right now since I'm not used to soundproofing headphones, so I'm still trying to get used to them. So if I seem a little bit uncomfortable while recording, I'm still trying to get used to these headphones. S-file. As for Sonozaki. If something is an S-file, it means it has something to do with the Sonozaki family. It's something of a code name. Sonozaki? Come to think of it, I remember when I was poring over the documents at headquarters, there was quite a few people with the last name Sonozaki popping up. If I'm remembering right, there's a Sonozaki who is one of the executives of the Okinomiya Defense Alliance. I'm pretty sure they're the treasurer? The two of them were surprised when I rattled off what posts that Sonozaki held. After a moment, both of them erupted into laughter. Akasaka-san, was it? You're quite the studious one. Could it be you memorized all the central fixtures in the Alliance? I wouldn't say memorize exactly, but I at least read the list of Okinomiya Defense Alliance executives. Then, who are the president and vice president? President is the Mayor Hinamizawa, Kei Kimiyoshi. The vice president is the priest of the local shrine, Furude. The treasurer is O Sonozaki. The auditor is Makino. The liaison is Y Kimiyoshi. The PR head is Y Sonozaki. Okay, Akasaka-san, you're pretty good. The pay sucks, but do you want to work here? You're just the type we're looking for. By the way, Yoshio Sonozaki is the head of the youth department. So close! The head of the public relations is actually Takeyoshi Sonozaki. Feel like I wasn't being complimented at all. I saw it as settling into an uncomfortable mood. However, I was becoming more and more aware that I was the weakest link in this investigation, so I just had to bear with it. I didn't mean for that feeling to show up on my face, but the crafty detectives didn't let that slip by. I didn't mean to make fun of you. To make up for it, why don't I show you around the village? For somebody with no feel for the area like me, it would be a great help. I could have asked for more. In the end, the Okinomiya Defense Alliance is nothing more than an ally that Hinamizawa is using to deal with the outside world. I think getting to know the village would speed up your work. How about it? The residential movement, in other words, held influence over the whole region. So the leader of the movement was the leader of that influence. Just like that, the thought processes in the region would become the overall personality of the movement. Just like Ōishi had said, in order to learn what they were really like, this regional force behind the damn protests, getting to know the village was the quickest way. If you would. Diving back without skipping a beat, Ōishi laughed in satisfaction and stood up. And we're heading to Hinamizawa in such a familiar car. If I took the information I learned at the prefectural office and from Motodai to heart, if my position was exposed, my personal safety was at a risk. The opponent was an extremist group that had no qualms about using threats or violence against somebody. If my personal info was leaked, it wouldn't be hard to imagine that I'd be in danger, whether on the job or not. Thinking that, I felt a little nervous. These guys are quick to remember faces. If you're seen with me, they'll probably do a lot to hinder your work. This might be a little cliche, but put these on. Ōishi handed me an incredibly suspicious disguise comprised of a baseball cap, sunglasses, and a mask. I didn't want to get hot and stuffy, but Ōishi's warning was probably right on the money. Considering that, I put them on with appreciation. I looked so suspicious that Ōishi had to smile wryly. How much did I tell you again? Let's see. To the part you were talking about how... Oh, yeah, this is Ōishi and Akasaka. I was reading as Akasaka as for Ōishi, but I was reading Ōishi as Akasaka, so I'm gonna reread that real quick. How much did I tell you again? Let's see. To the part where you were talking about how these three ancient families control the village. The Okinomiya Defense Alliance was the same as the village of Hinamizawa itself. Meaning, there is a direct correlation between being an executive in the alliance and being a leader in the village, as Motodai had told me this a short time ago. If the village was ruled by 3 ancient families, then it would mean that the Okinomiya Defense Alliance was ruled by those same 3 families. What do the documents of the professional officers say about the leader of the Defense Alliance or whatnot? The documents I was using were classified. If I respond to Ōishi's question, it'd be a breach of security. However, most likely, this man, I judge, was more well-versed in the situation than any of the documents at the professional Peace Department, so I decided to answer him. That the president of the alliance is the current mayor of the village, Kiichiro Kimiyoshi. Ōishi, upon hearing that, let out a small chuckle. For him to ask like that, and to laugh at the answer as it was recorded in the documents, meant that wasn't the case in reality. So then, that means there's somebody other than Kimiyoshi behind the scenes? Contrary to what the professional office thinks, or rather, what is commonly known? Old man Kimiyoshi is nothing more than a figurehead. In the first place, the post of mayor in that village is nothing more than ceremonial. In other words, there's something else in charge of both the alliance and the village? Would that be the 3 families we just talked about? Well, I'll explain that part right now. All of a sudden, with a thunk, the car suddenly lurched. The paved road had given way to a gravel one. At the same time, the scenery outside the window changed. The Hinamizawa Dam project must be withdrawn. Overthrow the shameless public of our governor. The dam will submerge the natural beauty of Hinamizawa. Protect the village from unethical dam. Fear the wrath of Hiroshima-sama's curse. Demolish the dam. Those involved must go away. The construction in the office must be respawned. The office manager, XS, must negotiate with us. Signs and banners crowded the roadside. Even reading the brush-scrawled words was daunting. It was as though where the road just changed was a border with a different country. At that moment, I was startled by the car suddenly braking. Looking ahead, a barricade had been erected. About 5 or 6 protesters, wearing masks and helmets to hide their faces, were blocking the road, yelling at us angrily to stop. What is this? A checkpoint? These guys never learn. Ōishi snorted as he rolled down the window and leaned out. Hey, you guys! You can't be blocking the road like this here! As Ōishi glared at them with a malicious laugh, they visibly faltered. Clear the way! We can't go by like this! Who would have thought it was Ōishi's car? That panic thought seemed to make them lose their presence of mind. If we had known it was your car, Detective Ōishi, we would have been so rude! Detective, what happened to your usual car? Is it in for maintenance? Something like that. I just can't get used to the car they loaned me. Judging from their brief conversation, I could guess that they were familiar with the license plate of the car Ōishi normally used. In other words, if they knew the car belonged to the police, they would have hidden the barricade. What they were doing was obviously obstruction of traffic. A blatant crime. Who's that suspicious guy? You, could you show us your face? The man glared at me menacingly, wearing a mask and sunglasses. Made me look pretty dubious. Would not showing my face get me into some unnecessary trouble? I turned to Ōishi to see what I should do. Give him a break. He's still a shy little rookie. We just want to make sure he wasn't anyone suspicious. Hinamizawa has been a bit of a stir as of late. Have you looked at yourself in the mirror? That mask you're wearing is way more suspicious. The minute Ōishi continued to talk like that, finding smiles at one another. However, from the beginning to the end, I couldn't get over the feeling that I was sitting on a power keg. Has the number of trucks illegally dumping still not decreased? It's a real hassle dealing with it all the time. If the police could understand and cooperate, it would really help. During that conversation, the barricade was moved, leaving a gap wide enough for a single car to get through. Ōishi lightly honked the horn once and began to roll the car forward. I could see the men's antagonistic glares at the back of the car in the rearview mirror. Yeah, that would be pretty disturbing. Especially for Akasaka, who barely knows anything about Hinamizawa. What was that just now? Blocking a public road like that? Of course it's a crime. Still, if you get worked up over that, it'll never end. Those guys, see, claim that there's an infested of trucks illegally dumping in the village. The story goes in that order to stop that. They are halting suspicious vehicles for inspection. Illegal dumping? Like corrupt contractors just tossing industrial waste away? Their line of argument is that if the police aren't going to do anything about it, they'll take matters in their own hands. Well, the industrial waste is just something they're doing by themselves anyway. By themselves? They have a pretty good strategy. You see, in order to hinder construction, they spread industrial waste over by the dam site. Then, blaming it on corrupt contractors, they start insinuating these inspections. There, they stop every construction vehicle coming through and interfere with them as much as possible. Nerf. So then, it's one of the methods of the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance is using? With that inspection just now, this car license plate has probably been recorded. It shouldn't get stopped from here on out. Those guys know very well not to get me angry. See, rumor is that they figure a car is related to the construction in some way. Not only there would be checkpoints stopping it at every turn, but they'd be throwing rocks and planting road spikes as well. It's best you be careful so you're not identified. If they find out you're from public safety, who knows what you'll suffer through. Ōishi was acting like we were talking about something fun, but for me it was no laughing matter. It almost feels like we're wandered into a civil war in the Middle East. That's a good way of putting it. It's pretty much just what you said. Ōishi turned to me with a grin and menacing laugh. You see, this here is a war zone. The car slowed down a bit as it went down a narrow road through some farmland. You see that house in that forest over there? That antiquated one? Looking at where Ōishi was pointing, there was certainly an old, traditionally designed house. That belongs to the mayor, Old Man Kimiyoshi. You could say it belongs to the main Kimiyoshi house as well. There's a lot of branches, but maybe one of the three families. The three families? Ancient families that control Hinamizawa? That's right. And one of the others is the Furude family. Their house doesn't have a single branch. All that's left is the head priest family. Right over there's a shrine. He's a priest there. By the way, the Defense Alliance's office is on the grounds of that shrine. The office of the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance. If these guys were the enemy, that would make the shrine their stronghold. Can we go look over there? The shrine is the Furude family's private property, you see. Being police, we can't set foot there without a warrant. See, they got a member of the Diet with ties to the village backing them up. Basically, being the police has its strengths and weaknesses. Well, even when we talk about the three families, that's something from a long time ago. Way back when, those families used to hold councils to decide things about the village. Meaning, it's different now? You got a pretty good nose. That's what I expect from an academic. The car braked to a halt with a squeal. Squeal! I deeply apologize for that. I was trying to imitate a car squeal, but that did not sound right. I really apologize for that one. Ahead of where we were stopped were several signs. Private property beyond, no trespassing. Beware of poisonous snakes! Danger, turn back! Intruders will be charged an entry fee of 1 million yen. Signs were erected with things like that written on them. The road was separated from the forest by a chain-link fence wrapped in barbed wire. Since this is private property, this is as far as we go. There are several surveillance cameras set up further in. Saying that we just got lost won't work with these guys. They're beyond here, right? The people currently controlling Hinamizawa and the Okinomiya Defense Alliance were neither the Kimiyoshi family nor the Furude family, but the last of the three, the Sonozaki. Yeah. Beyond there is one of the three families, the Sonozaki family. They're the ones controlling Hinamizawa from the shadows. Among the list of executives recorded in the documents, the number of people with last names for the three families was quite high. Of course, Sonozaki was no exception. However, at the top was the Kimiyoshi family. If the Kimiyoshi family seemed to be in charge, the rulers behind the scenes were the Sonozaki family. This double-layered structure implicitly told me that the village had both a light and a dark side. The current head of the Sonozaki family is an old lady named Oryu. She has enough clout that you call her Impress Sonozaki. Be careful, she's no small fry. She's enough of a VIP that even the mayor of the city has to bow before her. Well, in Hinamizawa and the surrounding area, the relatives amount to a block of several thousand votes. No politician could show disrespect for that. In other words, that would make her the actual leader of the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance, right? You got it. Those words, Ōishi pulled out a well-worn cigarette box. The suspected kidnapping of the minister's grandchild and subsequent threats. Were these a part of the hidden ploy by the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance in order to have the Hinamizawa Dam project cancelled? You came all the way from Tokyo to investigate this, didn't you? Huh? Yeah, that's right. Something the matter? Ah, then. Is it related to that direct appeal incident with Minister Inugai? If that's the case, then public safety has the mark on the watch list? Something like that? Having you guess that so quickly makes this easy. While exhaling out cigarette smoke, Ōishi smiled broadly, like I just pulled a good one on him. Or so I thought. His smile disappeared suddenly. That's a lie, isn't it? Huh? I mean, the track appeal putting them on a watch list. That's a lie, isn't it? Ōishi knew that there was no way that Tokyo HQ would dispatch an investigator over something as minor as a direct appeal. If they were to dispatch someone, it had to be for a more dire reason. He had figured out as much. I thought of myself as the type of person who doesn't let things show on their face. In front of his watchful gaze, however, I felt that what I was thinking was completely laid bare. Ōishi silently lit another cigarette, as if waiting for me to interject during this awkward pause. I see. So this was a veteran detective's way of getting someone to spill information. But as long as I realize this, there'll be nothing more. If I didn't open my mouth, I wouldn't have to lose anything. All I had to do was stare out the window and enjoy the scenery until Ōishi gave up. You really are bad at hiding things, you know. Being so young and earnest isn't so bad. Ōishi smirked as he twisted out his third cigarette, while I tried not to let him notice that I had yielded completely. At first I thought I had won, but at the very least Ōishi had asserted that I was hiding something, meaning that I might have ended up marching to his tune. Ōishi started up the engine Ōichi had started up the engine once again, and began to move the car. If you'd just been honest with me, I thought I might have been able to help you. How would you help? If the cat was out of the bag, I might as well use it to catch some mice. Well, this depends on what we're talking about, but I might be able to set you up with someone who's knowledgeable about the going-ons in Hinamizawa. An informant? I see. Is that what you call it? Why are you interested in my case, Ōishi-san? Well, I'm the same as you. Isn't it our business to know things? Being able to be with Ōishi's informant was an extremely compelling opportunity. We were looking to recruit somebody familiar with the area to collaborate with for our intelligence. In the end, there was no better method for finding people than asking. We were always taught, however, that the rank-and-file police were no better than monkeys. Unlike us, they were careless with confidential cases. We looked down on them like they run their mouth off in a drunken stupor. Ōishi was an outlaw amongst them, and here I was lost on whether or not I should tell him about the kidnapping of the minister's grandson. This informant. Exactly how knowledgeable are they about the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance?
If you're from public safety, you know, wouldn't you?
Something like that is something I just can't tell you. Protect your sources. That was the first principle of dealing with confidential information. In that regard, it seemed like Ōishi wasn't one of those monkeys. Should I trust him, ask for his help, or not?
It's just that you work for the feds, and I work for the prefecture. I don't think it's that our jobs are that different. I think I could be of help.
However, I had trouble believing that this crafty old man would simply help me just as he claimed. I found it hard to believe that someone of your standing would help me out with without strings attached.
Well, it's not like I'm completely without an ulterior motive. As I recall, you guys have space in your budget allocated to pay informants, right? Something you don't need to submit a receipt for? Just a little bit of that would cost the meeting with the informant.
In other words, get the compensation earmarked for the informant to you first? Well, it helps that the details of this deal are so clear-cut. He certainly was something else for being able to presently state his ulterior motive like this. Rather than him doing out of the kindness of his heart, everything was a lot clearer if he was being compensated for this deal. I felt like he was the type of man who was good at these backroom dealings.
Don't misunderstand me, please. It's not me who needs the money, it's the informant, okay? Well, in regards to the payment, I'll be handling the money.
When do you want it?
Right now would be good. If you don't have it on you, tomorrow works as well.
I pulled out a wallet that was different from my personal one. The price was pretty much fixed depending on what kind of information I was paying for. In this case, the payment was up front. Also, considering the fact I didn't know what kind of info I would get, I shouldn't pay too much. When I suggested that, Ōishi suddenly stretched out his hand and tightly grasped the contents of the wallet.
At times like this, it's best you not be so stingy. It's alright, it won't go to waste.
I understand. I won't be stingy.
And? What kind of information are you looking for? Depending on what you want, how we approach this will probably change.
You swear you won't spread this information to anyone else? Ōishi-san?
I can't swear as much. I'm the same as you. I can't withhold information obtained during the course of my duties. I got it, I swear. Nothing here gets said anywhere else. On top of that, thanks to you, I can pay back what I owe from mahjong debts. From my mahjong debt! Oh, he wants to pay his mahjong debt. Oh, man. Thanks to you, I can pay back what I owe from my mahjong debts. In any case, I won't break a promise that involves money.
I was so unsure if I should trust him until the very last moment. At the end, I broke down. Ōishi wasn't the type of guy I could trust 100%, but there was no mistaking he had access to underground information networks. In order to accomplish my mission swiftly, I needed his cooperation. I set my resolve. I'm investigating whether or not the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance is related to a certain incident.
Certain incident?
There's a possibility that the Minister of Construction, Inugai, is being coerced by someone.
Saying that there's a possibility is kind of a roundabout way of putting it.
It appears there's a mole close to the Minister. And due to that mole, the Minister has been monitored quite thoroughly and was seemingly forced to cede to the threats right away. None of this was reported to us or the police.
I see. So that's why you're saying there's only a possibility he's being coerced. In that case, isn't it a little strange? If the Minister didn't report this to anybody, how did
you guys know about this incident? If we didn't spy on the minister's private life, we would have never found out. I don't think we have to provide that explanation to the informant, so I'm admitting it. Ōishi had apparently caught on, and quietly chuckled when I refused to explain. I see. There's a spy close to the minister, so the public safety made it a highly classified investigation. That certainly isn't a very amicable story, is it? If this matter became public, not only would it affect the minister's political career, but the possibility of there being a shift in political landscape is pretty high, extremely high. If the perpetrator's aim is indeed that, this could develop into a very grave situation. Well, with the government having deployment projects all over the country, they butted heads with quite a few people. It wouldn't take much wrongdoing for the left-wing's party to suddenly garner more support. We're currently investigating what demands are being forced on the minister, but at least we have a good idea of how he's being threatened. How? The minister's grandson was kidnapped. They're denying it, but judging from when he was last seen, it's believed it's already been over 72 hours since the kidnapping. So 3 days. If they were just after some ransom money, this would have been settled by now. It may be this isn't for monetary gain. The possibility that they're forcing the minister to do something politically extremely high. That's something we just can't consent to. So then, the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance was listed as one of the possible perpetrators. That's correct. Kidnap the minister's grandson, and demand the cancellation of the dam project. What do you think, Ōishi-san? From your point of view, do you think that's possible? Ōishi seemed to ponder the idea for a while. The section chief at the regional office had responded immediately with, "It's possible." However, Ōishi, who was this well informed about the matter, was hemming and hawing. Finally, just a little bit, he said something that was really just a little bit strange. This was before the Meiji era, you see. This area wasn't named Hinamizawa back then. It was called Onigafuchi. This is just what I heard from my grandmother. The topic was so completely and suddenly unrelated to the subject of the kidnapping of the minister's grandson that I was slightly taken aback. Onigafuchi? Oh, so that's why they're called the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance. You see, the village of Onigafuchi was said to be inhabited by demons that devour humans. Even now, it's believed that the blood of these demons was partially courses through the veins of the villagers. Demons that devour humans? Ōishi-san, what are you saying? It's information. I got a lot from you just now. A little too much. In exchange, I'm getting you a little freebie. Ōishi finally smiled, but it didn't seem like he was fooling around. Please continue. You see, these human-devouring demons, normally they were reversed as Taoist transcendents and lived tucked away from the rest of the world. But they ate people, after all, so apparently they go to the villages in the foothills and regularly abduct their prey. They used to call that being demon away, or Onigakushi. Demon away. It was the first time I heard such a particular phrase. However, I felt something slightly ominous from this horrifying tale of demons abducting people in order to eat them. Look, you know how there's a common phrase, spirited away? When people suddenly go missing one day, they call it that. When the same thing happens around here, they call it being demon away. How does that old tale relate to the matter at hand? Oh no. There's no direct relationship. I'm just making some small talk here. It's just... Ka-thump, ka-thump. The car shook. At some point, the gravel road had changed to a paved one. It's just what? Now around here, the phrase demon away is some of our code for disappearance and kidnappings. I just thought I'd mention that. I don't know if this has anything to do with the kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Well, there's no deep meaning behind it. It's just... there's that little bit of history. Onigakushi. human-eating demons coming down to the foothills and abducting their prey? Then in order to cancel the dam project that threatened to submerge the village they lived in, did they demon away the minister's grandson? Then had they already made an example out of the minister's grandson and eaten him alive? It's a bit of an interesting old tale, isn't it? If you set foot in the demon's village without a reason, you'll probably be captured and eaten alive. So don't go near Onigafuchi. Kids these days wouldn't have superstitions, would they? Even amongst older folks in Okinomiya, born in the Miji area, there's quite a few who wouldn't heed these warnings. Himatsubushi village was feared by the people in the area. I recall that piece of information I heard from the Public Safety Division. In any case, we're in the boonies out here. It's kinda expected there will be some superstitions around. Somebody from Tokyo like you, Akasaka-san, probably couldn't even begin to imagine it, could you? The man-eating demons, as the prize for violating the sanctity of their village, kidnapped the minister's grandson and swallowed him whole. That ludicrous idea flew through my head. It was so absurd that I was half disgusted with myself. I wish he was just teasing me. Stupid. It was all really so stupid! Come to think of it, by then, I may have already been seized by the curse of that dubious village. For me to realize that, it'll take a little more time. What's happening now? It was the end of the chapter where he was questioning Ōishi's methods of talking to him about Hinamizawa. Okay. Oh my god, Yusi renews his phone call with Yuki, a record of opening remarks, gears and fire and the taste of honey. Oh my gosh. Oh, I like that achievement. I really like that achievement logo with Akasaka wearing the mask. So okay, here we go. We got phone call with Yuki, a record of opening remarks, gears of fire and the taste of honey, and the chick in the trunk. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and begin with the phone call with Yuki first. Oh, really? It's tough when it's such a sudden assignment. Please be careful. Where are you headed? You're already there? Whenever I headed on an assignment, she would ask where. Not just Yuki, but anyone would have asked the same question. If it was a cold place, she would urge me to pack a thick jacket. If it was far, she warned me to be careful on the drive over. If it was just a normal everyday concern that led to asking such an obvious thing, I felt sad I couldn't answer such a run-of-the-mill question. Sorry. It's something that you can't talk about, isn't it? Please be careful. Sorry, Yuki. At some point, you started apologizing right away. Even though wow, this music took me off guard. Even though when you first started your job, you were all gung-ho about it. Hee. Yuki laughs as though she realized something. At times like this, Yuki had the magical power to see right through me. It's already been quite a while since I was admitted to the hospital. Are you finally getting lonely? Don't tease me. I'm too old to get lonely. Hee. Oh, really? You actually like to be doted on, don't you? Don't you start getting a little fit of heart when I'm not around? Hee. Ah, jeez. I can see the little devil horn sprouting from your head right now. You've always been like this. You can't hide it. You can't hide it. If I don't play with you, you'll all get lonely. You get all lonely. I could hear your tail wagging over the phone. Hee. This side of Yuki wasn't something you could guess existed from seeing her usual modest behavior. It was something she didn't show anyone else but me. Normally, I poke her to hide my embarrassment and bring an end to the conversation, but I couldn't do that over the phone. Of course, Yuki was clever. She was teasing me because of that. Hee. I wonder when I figured out that giving you grief was this much fun. Give me a break. In any case, it's good to hear you so lively. I know, right? Did I cheer you up? I'd call Yuki to keep her from feeling lonely when she was by herself in the hospital room. Of course, that was something more than a pretense that I, being shy, had come up with. It seemed that Yuki had long since seen through the act. Yeah. Please phone again. When I'm not feeling up to it, I'll get my father to talk with you. Although, if you're talking with my father, I get the feeling that you'll be standing at attention on the other side of the line. Hehehehe. For a while longer, Yuki kept teasing me without letting me end the call. I really like Akasaka and Yuki's relationship. A record of opening remarks, let's begin. German XX. Members of the XX Party. Congratulations are due, as we are celebrating 25 years since our founding. These past 25 years have seen much growth in XX Prefecture. The once quiet scenery of nothing but fields. Now has seen the opening of a new stop for the bullet train. And with the development of the highway, we've seen the rebirth of a modern city bursting with youthful energy. We reap the benefits of new businesses and industry. And with the special reverence of the residents of XX Prefecture have, for time-honored traditions, history, and culture, and business and industry, with these ideals in harmony, they have accomplished in growing their city into one of Japan's foremost metropolises. Of course, the element of XX Prefecture wouldn't happen without the growth of the XX Party. We are resolved to see every one of our campaign promises to fruition, reaching our targets definitely and exponentially like arrows fired from a bow. With these arrows as fundamental basis of the XX Party, our members have sought to pierce the obstructions and preventing the happiness of the residents of the XX Prefecture. But I do believe that everyone here is unlike an ordinary arrow. While being as unfaltering and straightforward, we have not neglected seeking solutions that conform to the current day and age while also keeping an eye on the future. An arrow, once loosened, can only fly to its destination. Everyone here, however, is no simple arrow. Even one loosened from the bow, without neglecting our studies, while still employing new methods, and implementing more effective and flexible ideas, thus being able to change trajectories mid-flight, we are magical arrows. The modern age marches ever forward. Sometimes this marches faster than the time taken from planning to execution. The following part was not in the script. It is thought to have been ad-libbed by the minister. For example, there have been numerous problems with the Hinamizawa power plant project. Rather than forcing through the project solely because it's set upon by the government, it is necessary to reflect on and adjust to the ever-changing needs of the residents, the region, and the next generation. The game froze for a second. The protests by the local residents that surround the Hinamizawa Dam. These are also the will of the people of the XX Prefecture. If you feel that there is no need to listen because the project has already been finalized, then you do nothing more than shed a poor light on Japan's post-war democracy. The following is as per script. For the lasting happiness of the citizens of Japan and the residents of the XX Prefecture, please consider these policies thoroughly. I believe, however, we have all gained something from the flexibility and foresight of the XX Party. I'm taking much of your time. However, allow me to say that the following to celebrate the 25th anniversary of our founding, Chairman XX, members of the XX Party in attendance, thank you very much for today. For the opening remarks of the XX Party Professional Forum of the 25th anniversary celebration. Interesting. That is definitely quite interesting. A letter. And now here's the gear and fire of the taste and honey. Wow, I did not say that correctly. The world is filled with people blessed with relationships. Of course, that doesn't mean everyone's connected to each other. It's obvious that on the other side of the planet, there are people laughing and crying who can't possibly have an effect on you. However, in the extremely limited community of the neighborhood, that sort of connection is just a matter of fact. It's quite possible that a single remarkable event could have massive consequences inside a small community. If you were to increase that in scale, a perfect stranger on the other side of the globe might have become enough of a legend to have an effect on our lives. Well, it's not always that way. Like I said at the beginning, the links between people basically aren't that relevant in the grand scheme of things. Whether some household nearby is having steak or crochets doesn't matter to me. When I put on my shoes, it doesn't matter to anybody whether I put the right one on first or the left. This much the average person can understand. But actually, in reality, this is the truth. The bonds between people are quite well defined. it's not just a matter of distance of being far or near. For example, let's say that person A's actions has some effect on me. Even then, person B's actions could have absolutely no consequence on my life. The reverse also is true. Just because my actions affect person A, that doesn't always mean they affect person B as well. Let's put it bluntly. If the bonds between people are like gears in a machine, the gear that represents me meshes with some people but is isolated from others. There are some who try arguing against this. Those people bring up the example of gears in a clock. Each gear is indeed only directly meshes with one or two others. However, if you rotate one gear, the one next to it is moved, which connects to the next one and the next. In the end, all the gears are moving. There's a logic behind this, more than enough to convince the average person. Why is the argument convincing? The answer is simple. The relationships between people are ambiguous and can only be described conceptually. How the gears are connected and how their movements are chained together can't be used as a fundamental explanation, so it throws a wet blanket on that argument. So for the people who like that explanation, I'll use the example of a clock again to refute it. First of all, to say that this world is a singular clock would be wrong. That is, there isn't only one clock. There exist many clocks in this world, each counting on their own time. If you think about it, the idea that this world is just one big clock is the height of arrogance. If you use the analogy of gears to explain human relationships, then you should be able to explain it using an analogy of multiple clocks unrelated to a single gear. Neighbors A and B. A is a gear in the same clock as me, so it's best to remain civil. B used a gear in a different clock, so he really doesn't matter to me at all. That's the kind of clear distinction I'm talking about. You want to say I'm being fallacious? Then let's change that analogy to something more familiar so you can understand. You probably heard the phrase, fire on the opposite shore, sometime in your life, no? For example, if your neighbor's house was on fire, you would probably try to help put it out, wouldn't you? It would be awful if the fire spread and burned down your own house after all. But if that fire was in a town on the opposite side of the river, would you still go out of your way to help? You wouldn't, would you? Even though it would be the wrong thing to do, there's no way the fire could spread to your own house. Even if it turned it into a huge conflagration, there's no relation between the houses that will spread fire to yours and those that won't. With this basic example, you should be able to see the difference between gears that are or aren't related to your own. Having said that, there's still a lot to think about, even without a river to divide it. After all, it's not a spatula problem like being on the other side of the river, is it? I'm actually not for sure about this tip right now, because most of the time the tips relate to a character, but I don't know which character this tip relates to. It could either be Yuki or possibly Rika, because Rika is heavily shown in this chapter, so it could be something from Rika, but I don't know. But it could also be a note from somebody that I don't know much about yet, or a note that I already know about slightly, but I can't say anything because it's a spoiler for later on in the series. So I'm going to go ahead and read the chick in the trunk. The car stopped. But he didn't know any more than that. For not only was blindfolded, but locked in the trunk of the car. How could people become this powerless just by being robbed of their sight? He absolutely would have known this without experiencing it firsthand. He soon realized it was pointless to try to undo his bonds, with the confines of the trunk quickly making him lightheaded. He had no choice but to let this mild torture dull his senses. That's why, when the car stopped and the unpleasant vibrations ceased as the engine was killed, he couldn't help but delude himself that he was being set free, even though nothing had been resolved in reality. Of course, he was soon removed from that delusion. He strained his ears when he heard one of the men who had abducted him, an older man he was hearing for the first time, strike up a conversation. Nice to see ya. The chick is in the trunk. He stroked so much that he's probably exhausted right now, but there's not a mark on him, just as ordered. Oh, must have been a handful! The trunk is open, letting in a blast of fresh, cool air. Even though up until just now he'd been thinking about getting out of that stuffy trunk, when it was actually open, he suddenly became uneasy. Even though he wished that the lid of the trunk would once again close, separating himself from them. Suddenly, somebody stroked his head. Of course, since he was blindfolded, he couldn't tell if the hand was petting him or simply just avowing how easy it would be to remove his scalp. Unable to tell the difference, he only freezes as he imagined the worst-case scenario.
Poor little bucket. He's stricken. Just hang on for a bit.
The old man said that kindly as he gently stroked the boy's head.
That's supposed to be real tough for you. I say, your Cross is a nice man. I'll help you soon enough.
Having heard nothing but the average standard dialect his whole life, the old man's distinct intonation left a deep impression on the boy, probably traumatized him. But he had no idea what he was saying. For
your Gramps,
the registered meaning as your grandfather took a while to process. Eventually, the hand that was stroking his head loosened the blindfold.
Can't keep his eyes covered.
If he splits his face, it would be bad.
With that, we might as well take him out that gag. He can't breathe with like that.
It'll be trouble if he yells. Leave him to us.
Jeez, you guys don't know how to treat somebody. This man family has said no rough stuff. I better remember that well.
Yeah, we won't do anything stupid. As long as the kid cooperates, that is. The man prodded roughly and repeatedly at the boy's head. A rugged hand, unlike the affectionate one that had been stroking his head before. Just stay cooperative. If you struggle, there's no guarantee what would happen. That cliche threat was literally beat into his head. And that was the finale. Well, the final tip, not the finale. I'm a little bit way too early in to say anything about a finale, so that was the final tip of the first chapter of Higurashi Ōishi Himatsubushi. So, leave a like, leave a comment, I'll fix the issue soon, and I'll see you all next time. Okay.